What's up, A to Z Sports here live on a Tuesday. It feels like a Monday, but it's a Tuesday, which is not terrible because that means we're one day closer to the next weekend. I hope everybody had a great, safe Memorial Day weekend. Thank you to all those and thinking about all those affected on Memorial Day from somebody who's lost a loved one. But thank you for all the ones that have given their life to our country. But here we go, getting ready on another big week. Easton Titans practice this week where the media will be on the field for the first time since with veterans since the rookies joined, right? For us, at least for the media to see that. So we'll see what practice looks like with Cam Ward and his veteran teammates shortly, but going to have a good show here on this Tuesday morning talking about the new offseason workout program, how it's working via Calvin Ridley. I see American Toff and Randy are throwing shade early. Are they ever on time? American Toff says yes when Zach is on. Oh, they're on time when the guy who does not have a child is on the show. That's why they're on time when Zach's here, I guess. But no, we're going to have a good show here this morning, talking through everybody who wants to complain about us being a little bit late. You guys aren't even here. Like, where are you guys at? We're waiting for you guys to get going here. Joshua Buck has been on vacation for prime time, so he'll be back in the saddle here as we navigate through the spring off-season vacation days. But going to have a good show talking Calvin Ridley comments of the weekend. Easton, you've done some digging and learned some extra things about the off-season workout program and the new addition to it, the new what it is. How it works and everything. I'm not really speaking very clearly today because I haven't done a show in 5 days. So that's what happens when I take a Thursday, Friday off going into a long weekend. I forget how to talk. But Easton, let's get this thing going. Maybe that's my shade on this Tuesday morning. Let's get it going. Welcome in.
Even more people complaining about the time. Act like you've been here before, Phil. A lot of you people, I've familiar faces. You guys should know if you watch this show every morning or most mornings, which many of you do, and I will start calling you out by name. We start between 8:10 and 8:15 without fail pretty much every day. So that's on time. So when you show up at 7:59 and you're like, where are they? You must be new around here because that's not how it works. So welcome to the show. Learn some patience here on a Tuesday morning. We're happy that you're here and we're happy to start the show when we typically do, which I think today we started at
we have to wait for you guys to kind of get here on YouTube before we can go because that's how the algorithm benefits us. So Cadero says, we need you guys to do better. No, we need you guys to do better.
No, I think Cadero is saying we need to in the chat. The chat needs to do better. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not.
Yes. Roz says people be miserable. Yeah. Be miserable bitching about somebody showing up late for a free show for content that you talk about your favorite team.
Listen, I'm just going to go ahead and say, if you've been here before, then you know that on time, we're an executive decision. On time is 8:10 to 8:15-ish because that's when the show starts. And I know that what is the graphic for the show starts at 8:05. Yeah, we have to set it. We have to set it for when you guys will show up and get you here, and then we can start the show. We don't want to start the show.
So everybody had this. I'm going to start Shade now. So let's do the official intro. I'll kick off the show with Shade, and then I'll let you. Then we'll get into the actual conversation of the show.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Do your actual intro.
Yeah. So please do like the show now that you're here and now that we've started. On Facebook, on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button for us. Very helpful. Leave a 5-star Google review, do all of those things, and then jump in the chat and join all the complainers about when the show is supposed to start as we continue to break down exactly when the show is supposed to start. Okay, Austin, now you can go.
Yes, let's get it going. Welcome into A to Z Sports here live on a Tuesday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com. We're Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Bless you, Easton. Also hit us up on 5-star Google reviews. You guys are way nicer when you leave a 5-star Google review than you are in the chat. But leave us a 5-star Google review for the company. That goes a long way. Do have to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And Barton Drury Insurance Group, where they have customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They're local and online at bartondrury.com. So to address the showtime starting situation, everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody everybody has that person in your life where you set dinner reservations for 7:00 p.m. at the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
You know there is somebody in your life that you have to say 6:45 to. Because if you don't say 6:45 and you say 7, they show up at 7:30. And it's a restaurant that, hey, you got to have the whole party here to be able to sit at your table. This is what we have to do with you, the chat. We have to tell you guys 8:05 so you get your ass in here so we can start at 8:10. So just remember, that is what we're doing. There is a method to it because the YouTube algorithm likes when people are waiting. And so you got to make sure that you guys jump in here early enough for us to get going. And
if you're new, I can understand the confusion. But if you've been here before, like most of you are here every day that I see complaining in the chat, act like the pro that you are. Act like you know that we start at 8:10 and between 8:10 and 8:15 every day. Because I know that you know, because you're here for it every day. So why are you surprised? Every day, it's like you have goldfish memory. Every night you're like, oh, I bet tomorrow they start at a different time than they do every single day. Nope, it's the same time they start every single day. Get it together. Identify patterns, people.
Yes.
8:10-ish. Always is.
It drives me crazy because look, we got things we're doing. We've got shows to plan. We've got graphics to make, video to cut up, topics to configure, and questions to form to get you guys involved to have a good show. So Chris says, use us Facebook people just sit here and refresh the page every minute. So, all right. Yeah. Sean says, I've watched from day one, always late. Yeah. On purpose.
Sean gets it.
Because
Sean gets it.
Hey, we got to tell you guys reservation at 8:05. So you guys show up for our 8:10 show.
At some point, consistently late becomes on time because that's the time that it starts.
Exactly. All right, so let's actually do stuff. Let's actually talk Titans football because we will actually throw shade later on. And Jeff is continuously asking just about every day that I'm on the show with Easton, what awful take is Easton going to have today?
Speaking of miserable people.
Yes.
Anyways.
Yes. Anyway. Easton, we've been talking quite a bit, I guess, since the press conference availability early last week, that when Brian Callahan and veteran players talked about the new offseason program, the competition, splitting up into teams, and how campy all the vibes feel. We've been talking about this a good bit, and then you've done some extra talking and digging to try to learn exactly how all this is playing out here. But let's go ahead, if you can, Easton, you know which Brian Callahan video to pull up here. Let's reset the conversation and play the Brian Callahan video from last week on this off-season program before we hear from Calvin Ridley to refresh our brains after a long holiday weekend to make sure that we all know what we're talking about. So Calvin Ridley can tell us his thoughts on the off-season workout program from OTAs. Do you have the video ready, Easton?
I think so.
Question. It's something that we've really put a lot of work into. What I mean by that is it's an emphasis for us as well. Just like we emphasize trying to eliminate those negative plays and our execution, there is a leadership emphasis. And part of the reason I did what I did with our dividing our team up into teams is now they're all accountable to each other on that team. There's a leadership that starts to grow because now each team has a captain and an alternate, and now you've got more people in leadership spots. One of the things I think is unique about the process is it allows those guys to start to find their own voices, and it's not about an offense versus defense. It's much more of a holistic team approach to it. We encourage these guys to spend a lot more time together, both in the building and out of it. It's been a focus for us, and I think you can develop leadership. I don't think leaders are necessarily just walk into a room ready to lead. I think there's skills you have to learn. You have to have the communication as a leader. You have to know your teammates. We spend a lot more time trying to get to know each other on a level that I think is going to be beneficial to fostering more leadership from more people. One of the things I tell our team all the time that I think is really important is a lot of times you ask people, how do you lead? And most people say, I lead by example. And my retort to that is there's really no such thing in pro sports. Leading by example is the expectation. That's your job, to be on time, to do what you're supposed to do, to work hard, to study. That's part of that's in your contract, you know. And so my challenge to our team this year was to do more of the things that require bringing people with you, making other people better. And so leadership is something that we talk a lot about. It's a focal point of our offseason, and the idea is that you develop a team full of leaders, and everyone has different styles. But it's something that I think the more people you have that are comfortable in those roles and understand that it's more about, you know, how you interact with people and how you make people around you better, that part of it I think is something I'm excited about.
So there's a lot of interesting things there in the last 2 minutes of Brian Callahan. And I think football teams naturally are quick to be cliquey, right? Like your high school culture. Football teams can easily be broken off into different circles of small groups and people that are like-minded, play the same position, have the same body type, do the same things, right? It's easy for the wide receivers to hang out together, for the DBs to hang out together, the O-line, the D-line, etc., right? And so I think what they're doing here is breaking up all those cliques, and it might sound like summer camp to you, but when you go to summer camp and you get outside your cliques and you create new friends and you have new relationships, then you go back to school and you remember the Titans at Gettysburg, this thing, it works. And a lot of times it can work. It doesn't have to work. It can work because you have a different care for one another and a different understanding for one another. So there's a lot of good things here. So yes, Colin, the Remember the Titans strategy is what the Titans are doing in 2025, about 25 years after the movie came out. But while it feels like old school football, old school high school football, I think it matters a lot, especially in today's age, and especially with this franchise that struggled in the leadership category from a player standpoint the last several years. So let's go ahead and hear from Calvin Ridley. This is from Teron Davenport, who was at Calvin's youth football camp on Saturday at Lipscomb Academy, I believe. But here's Calvin Ridley talking about his early returns on the new off-season competitive, accountable leadership program the Titans have instilled.
We're competing in everything we do at work right now, and I think it's great. I think it's so fun. I'm a captain on my team. I got my boys behind me, and I'm telling them every day. I'll be messing up sometimes, but I tell them every day, man, we're trying to win. You know, we're trying to win, and it's only just making us closer. I swear, it's really working. It is. That's true.
I swear, it's really working. It's working. And Calvin Ridley cannot go a press conference without dropping an F-bomb accidentally and then catching himself. But Easton, you've been doing some digging behind the scenes and talked to some more people as well about what this is, because we heard the press conference from last week, and a lot of people were thinking, oh, they're just going to play rock, paper, scissors and see if they can do obstacle courses and see who can win the most challenges and all that as a group of different teams. But like, how does that actually help you not fumble the football or not jump off sides in the second half of a game? And how does it make you fix the mistakes that you had last year that led you to be the worst team in the NFL?
Yeah, and this is what I wrote about last week, Wednesday or Thursday. I forget which day I published this, but I think that the headline is largely being missed because of that press conference we did on Tuesday, where we talked to the players and we got to speak briefly with Callahan about the program. And he said like 3 or 4 different times in that presser that he wishes he had time to take us through the whole program, because that 30 minutes we had with him was not nearly enough time. And the thing that I think is being missed is that, yes, an element of this is camaraderie. It is this group becoming a team in the truest sense of the word, becoming unified, building a connection that I think everybody is implicitly admitting that last year they didn't have enough of. And that, I mean, the way that it's been explained to me is just like that last year was a lot of new guys that weren't comfortable enough with one another, or weren't as comfortable with one another as they should be to be a successful team. And we know how many new guys were on this team last year, and a lot of, obviously the free agency was the bulk of it, but a lot of rookies as well. They come in and what does the leadership of this team look like when those guys come in the door? It's missing, it's lacking. And I wrote about that over the weekend too, about how, the revelation that hit me last week was that I think at the end of the Mike Vrabel tenure, Mike Vrabel was the leadership, which is a superpower of his and isn't something that most coaches can pull off. In fact, I, on one hand, can name the coaches who I think can pull that off. And it's not a very healthy superpower to implement on your team in terms of the long-term success of the team, but it is something that few guys can do and is extremely helpful in a pinch. And I think we and fans and the Titans, frankly, all collectively underestimated how big a void there was left behind when Vrabel left in terms of leadership and what kind of leadership Brian Callahan and his squad was inheriting last year. It just didn't really exist. And part of that is Vrabel leaving. Part of that is the exodus of veterans that, when the Titans in the Vrabel era were at their best, they had very clear leadership where I'm kind of all over the place here, but back to Callahan's press conference, he mentions how, the best teams, and you talk to any coach in the NFL, they'll tell you this too. The best teams in the NFL don't have the 3 or 4 tentpole leaders you think of. These are guys that lead the whole team. That exists, but the best teams are player-led top to bottom, and there are hierarchies of leadership. And so there are guys that are leaders of the whole team. There are guys that are leaders of their unit. There are guys that are leaders of their draft class or their age. There are guys that are leaders on the practice squad. When you talk about leadership, you can point to, darn near half the team is these guys are active leaders in some capacity in their day-to-day life here in the facility. And when the Titans were at their best, they had that, right? And the tentpole guys that were easy to identify were Ryan Tannehill, Roger Saffold, Ben Jones, Derrick Henry, these guys, Kevin Byard.
Every single one of those guys before KB were offensive guys.
Right, exactly. All those guys were offensive guys. You had KB on the defensive side. You had Danico Autry, by the way, was also a fantastic leader in a big way. And when all of those guys left at the tail end of the Vrabel era, especially that very last year with Vrabel, Vrabel was he was holding with both hands and one foot the tent poles up by himself, because he, and honestly, Mike Tomlin is this way. I think Bill Belichick was capable of this as well. I don't have any other great examples off the top of my head because it is really a rare thing that you find in coaches, their ability to just will a team through in terms of leadership and have everybody follow them as their one North Star and row in the same direction. That's really difficult. And it's not a slight on Brian Callahan to say that that's not a strength of his, because I think at any given time, 29 or 30 of the 32 NFL teams don't have a coach like that, because it is just you have to be a unique gravitational,
being. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I also think part of Vrabel's weaknesses, and he has weaknesses. Everybody's like, oh my God, people think Vrabel is the best head coach that's ever walked the earth after the Titans fired him, which is not true, because they were really bad the last 2 years. Many reasons for it. But I think one of Mike Vrabel's weaknesses is his inability to empower people to lead, to
Correct.
raise their own leadership he's the type, I'll just do it for you. And I think, why was Mike Vrabel's coaching staff inadequate towards the tail end too, is because it was not, in my opinion, Mike Vrabel was very, very hands-on helicopter coach.
Correct.
Which was very much I'll do it better, so I'm just going to take care of it. And that doesn't allow people to grow and empower others to actually develop some of those skills, to where when Vrabel leaves, there's nothing there. Now, it's not Vrabel's job to create leadership in the Titans without him there. His job was to win as many games as possible. But I do think there's a small part of the last year and a half of them falling apart that may be because of that inability to develop leadership outside of himself.
Yeah, because when he left, the group that Brian Callahan adopted in terms of, because a lot of the guys we mentioned last year as potential leaders were new to the team in some form or fashion. They were rookies who we felt would, take a step quickly, or they were guys that were brought in free agency. The guys that were holdover leaders from the Vrabel era, the group that Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon were left with, was a group of guys that just aren't leaders in that way, right? It was Jeff Simmons and Harold Landry, and like Morgan Cox is high on that list. Nick Folk, it's a couple of specialists.
Yeah.
Will Levis, who, wasn't in a position to do that because he didn't play well. DeAndre Hopkins, who that's not his style either. So like the three guys that are the best talents that I just named are all three guys that are fantastic players in Hopkins and Simmons and Landry, but none of them are the universal top of the food chain tentpole leaders that a Kevin Byard was.
Hopkins is more, and I think Hopkins deserves credit because people think of how he left Nashville was kind of weird and left the organization was kind of weird. Like people could say quit on the team, whatever. But I think DeAndre Hopkins is more of a mentor than he is.
He's a great mentor. Totally.
Right. Better mentor than like leader.
He's a great one-on-one guy with his wide receivers, 100%. And in the wide receiver room, I'm sure he is a big leader.
It doesn't even have to be wide receivers. J.C. Latham talked glowingly about D-Hop. But you look at Jeffrey Simmons. Like I remember, this was before you were with A to Z, Easton, but do you remember, I'm sure you do, when Randy Carthon pre-training camp was like, Jeffrey Simmons, I can't remember the exact wording.
I know what you're saying.
Jeffrey Simmons is the face of this franchise, and this is his franchise. I was like, I don't think that's the best idea. Because then what does Jeffrey Simmons do shortly after that? Goes over to Buck and yells at Buck on live radio with 8-year-old children around and calling him different types of words that I'm not going to repeat because of a tweet.
Yeah.
Like that's not what leader of franchises do. Like,
Side note, I have recently learned the specter, the legend of that story has grown because somebody mentioned to me in passing very confidently the other day, like, remember that time Jeff threw a punch at Buck? I go, no. And that story has grown to physical assault. There was no physical assault. It was just him chewing him out. Just to be clear, I don't know where that came along. But
that was partially my fault. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, because like I was standing on the peripheral of the Callahan press conference right there, and I'm not involved in the presser. I'm just observing. And I hear Jeff walk out the doors of the locker room behind me. And he just kind of huffing. He's kind of like huffing and puffing. And I kind of like glance over. He's like, "Where Buck at?" And I just think, oh, he's going to go on Buck's show because that's what happens after training camp practices. Buck gets a player. Radio stations get players after show.
Right.
And I was, it's red tent. I just kind of like point in that direction. He just storms off. And I very quickly like, this is not what I thought it was. He's going over there with some type of intent. And then I quickly followed and got the tail end of the verbally altercation. And then quickly Jeff switched gears and flipped the light switch and was just signing autographs for 8-year-olds. So it was just so bizarre of like going at this guy, calling him all these words, and then just, hey, buddy, yeah, sure, here's your signed glove. Go on, pat him on the butt and move him on. So it was a very strange thing. But again, that's not what leaders of franchises do. They don't blow up at a radio host for a tweet they sent.
Right.
It's 2 months ago. So it's just, again, that's kind of, I think, the whole point.
So they were left devoid of leadership, and back to the point of this program.
Yeah.
Realizing that leadership development is not even a big deal. Like it is a requirement for this team to find some real leadership again and to develop these guys and to set them up in a way that I think you made a good point that Vrabel, a superpower of his is his ability to be the leader. But where I do think he was lacking was he just, and I don't even think he means to, I think it is it's like the trope in superhero movies where it's like they're so strong and it's like their superpower that like they can lift, cars and save old ladies and stuff. But in their day-to-day life, like Clark Kent is like crushing soda cans because they don't know how strong they are. And they're like breaking things, like, ripping the fridge door off. Like, I think Vrabel is kind of that way in the sense that he walks into a room and he's such a natural leader that he sucks all of the oxygen out of the room for guys that may otherwise kind of claim that mantle or step up. And what Callahan and his staff are trying to do, a part of this program is that leadership. And we that's what we heard the majority of. That's the angle we heard the majority of on Tuesday was leadership development, getting these guys to come out of their shell, doing the 4 H's and having these guys within their platoon of 8 guys, or their platoon that they've cut the team 8 ways into. Spend time with one another. The fact that they've mixed up the locker room, not just by positions anymore. So guys are forcing guys to mingle and get to know each other. All of those things. That's what the leadership development is. Now, the element of the program that is not kumbaya in that way, that is not summer campy in that way, that we didn't really hear much about on Tuesday, is what I wrote about on Thursday. The missed headline that I think I'm teasing it. Don't worry. I think the thing that this program is primarily designed to do for this team is not leadership. It's something entirely different.
Yes, and it involves analytics, right? And you can learn all about some analytics and sports analytics with Lipscomb University's Sports Analytic grad program, one of a few of its kind, as sports analytics get deeper and deeper into pro sports, college sports, high school sports, all at all different levels. There's opportunities to make it a career. People ask us all the time, how do you get to where you are? How do you get into sports media? There's no one correct path. There's many. One of the correct paths could be Lipscomb Sports Analytics program. And you don't have to be in Nashville to take advantage of this from Lipscomb University that is in Nashville. It's an online grad program. So do it wherever you are online. You can take advantage of it and learn how to make your love and passion for sports a career with Lipscomb University's Sports Analytics program, and nationally recognized university, all online. So check them out, Lipscomb University Sports Analytics.
So much more to say, but first, make sure you've left us a 5-star Google review here on a Tuesday morning. Easiest way that you can be a friend of the show is to like the show right now. That's free. And then go to Google, search ATOZ Sports, and leave a 5-star review over there. That is free as well. 2 massive ways that you can help us out this morning. Thank you very much for doing so.
Yes, Titans Kyle says pro transition, Austin. Thank you, and shout out to Easton. I'll give Easton a nice assist for that transition overall. So dive into this offseason program for the Titans and what it's actually designed to fix, because I think that is obviously the most important thing. Is you can go out there and get to know each other and be best friends, but if you still suck at football, you're going to be best friends and fired. So right? I mean, that's kind of reality.
No,
in the NFL.
yes,
yeah, right. You're laughing, giggling, but it's true. So, what are they actually trying to fix with all this accountability?
Yeah, the coaching staff spent an untold amount of time and effort this offseason in developing what is, as far as they know, the only program of its kind. And that's what they weren't developing summer camp itineraries and, when to play patty cake and schedules for guys to take naps like that. That's not what they were doing.
Going out, taking the canoe out, learn how to row in one direction together.
Right. Exactly. What they were working on was the bones of this program. It's all about eliminating self-inflicted mistakes. That's the heart of this entire program. Is taking the things that they can control. And this was all born of a review. This is back in February when the front office locks themselves in the cave for their 17 days of no light first pass at the scouting of the draft class. Meanwhile, the coaching staff is all together for that amount of time, and they are doing a full comprehensive review, both tape and statistically, of last season, figuring out what they want to change. It's on its face is a scheme review, but it's everything. They're trying to figure out what went wrong, what they liked, what they didn't like, looking at teams around the league. What did they do? What can we steal from them? All of these things to prepare, set the foundation for them to basically make the curriculum for this year. And what they came out of that having developed was this program where I'm not going to repeat all the numbers. I don't have all the numbers off the top of my head, but they identified the biggest mistakes that this team made. And it doesn't take a genius to know this just anecdotally. If you watched the Titans last year, you're gonna hear this and say,
yeah, that's about
yeah, exactly. 100. Yep. With you so far. The majority of their issues was surplus mistakes that were within their control. And there are certain things in the NFL that are in your control, but kind of not in your control. Like there's an element of luck involved. And that's stuff like penalties within the bounds of the play. And, that's like OPI, DPI. stuff everything that doesn't happen pre or post snap, essentially. We're talking interceptions where it takes a defender making a play. We're talking overthrows where it's just sometimes a deep pass doesn't quite work, like stuff like that, where it's just like
competitive mistakes, right?
Yeah, execution stuff, and that's one thing, and you want to, you're working to iron those things out. But what is directly in your control are things like pre and post snap penalties, things like fumbles, things like aborted snaps, things like center quarterback exchange, things like quarterback running back exchange. We talked a lot about how, and I think I mentioned this last week, the Titans led the league by by 7 country miles in EPA lost on aborted snaps. It was like 29 points that were kept off the board because they couldn't handle the ball. They lost like 48 points on fumbles, which you combine their fumbles and aborted snaps, it was like 70 or 80 some odd points they left off the board, which the next closest team in the league was in the 50s or something. I'm writing an article on that at some point probably this week, but that's kind of the gist of the things that they are looking to. So pre-snap stuff, drops, holding, exchange issues, fumbles, sacks. Sacks is the one that I knew I'd forgotten something. I just went to look at my notes.
Drops too. I think drops and sacks
yep,
are kind of the surprise ones that are on this list.
Right, and so the things that are non-self-inflicted are just to be as clear as possible, are other penalties within the bounds of the play, negative runs, negative passes, incomplete passes, runs that go for no yards, and interceptions. Like that, there's an element of the game in there. Yeah. So of these things that are self-inflicted that they are trying to eliminate, how can we as a coaching staff not wait until September to hope those things are fixed? Because frankly, I think a lot of programs like this in May, you're against air, you're not in pads, you make a mental error, or you drop a pass, or you jump off sides, like you're getting chewed out by your coach. It's being brought up in your in your meeting, your tape review the next day. But the message is essentially like, that better not happen in the fall.
Can I tell you a story real quick?
Sure.
This is like an urban legend. Keith Bullock. There's a story about Keith Bullock. I don't know what year, but when Keith Bullock was already like an established stud, all-pro, Pro Bowl linebacker, there was a practice where Keith Bullock didn't wear his cleats. He wore his Timberland boots. And it was like a Shell's kind of a small, not a walk through, but not a practice. It was kind of like a jog through light day. And Keith's out there in his Timberland boots, and he doesn't do his pass drop. He just stands, watches the play develop, watch the quarterback throw. No, I'm going to pick that off. And just is taking the mental reps, but he's not doing it. But right. Keith Bullock earned that. Right? Keith Bullock can do that because he's Mr. Monday Night.
Because he's Keith Bullock.
He's getting a zillion tackles a year. He's picking off the ball. You trust him to know that, he will be right there. He will either intercept or at least break up that pass because he knows what to do. Where these guys don't have that luxury, especially in the summer of when that happens week 1, I'll be there. I'll get it right week 1. No.
Yeah, we don't trust you to do that. No. Respectfully, no. We're going to do that. We're going to fix that now.
Which is one of the most badass stories I've heard from Titans practice legends. Like Keith Bullock in his Timberland boots. Be like, no, I got that. Not happening. That's me.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a great story. And I feel like a lot of pros have that. Like you always get the Monday night pregame, and it's like the Saints are playing tonight, and Drew Brees is out with an injury. But look, here he is on the field 2 hours early watching the quarterbacks warm up, and he's just sitting there banking mental reps. And it's like, yeah, he probably is too, isn't he? It probably is effective way to practice.
It's crazy
for him.
Like that, yeah.
Right. If that harkens back to these guys that come in that are new. Like, it's not even that we don't trust you to do that. It's that I think you have to have a certain level of experience for that to even be effective, right? Like, I don't think that Tavondre Sweat can sit there and you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. It's not working for you. So anyways, the eliminating self-inflicted mistakes is at the heart of this. And so how do you do that in May, right? Because they're not trying to take this approach like a lot of teams, I think, do, where it's like, that better not happen in the fall. So what do you do now to make that stick, to inflict some pain beyond just chewing a guy out and embarrassing him in front of the team? And that's where the point system comes in. And so they alluded to this in the press conference on Tuesday a good bit, but they are, I mean, it's really, overkill is the wrong word. It feels like overkill. It's not overkill. It's extreme tedium that they are going through, extremely tedious what they are doing, where they are taking every single guy and tracking every single thing that they're doing starting now. And it's going to go throughout the summer. So from rookie minicamp, well, actually not rookie minicamp. I should clarify that.
That was orientation.
Sure. Right, I'm guessing that one didn't count. Yeah. I think the minute they started phase 1, from there all the way through OTAs, and then they're going to take a break, halftime throughout the summer, and then pick it back up in training camping and go through the preseason as well, I believe. They are tracking every single thing that every guy does on practice tape, from mental errors to pre-snap and post-snap penalties. And one number that I will throw at you that I gathered was that over, and this sounds right, but it's crazy to say out loud, over 50% of the Titans' offensive penalties last year were pre-snap, self-inflicted, just lining up wrong, jumping off sides, illegal motion, delay of game. Yeah, like it's so over half were things so that stupid. Were just them not doing their job right.
From the start.
Yeah, before the play even has a chance to work, before the ball's even in motion. So that's the kind of thing that they're working on eliminating. And so they're tracking the mental errors. They're even tracking effort, and they're using the GPS data in a sophisticated way that I don't know exactly how it's working, but they have every team has this, by the way. They have certain rules where it's like, okay, between the hashes, you never slower than a jog. Like, we don't see anybody walking when you're coming in off the sideline for a play because you're in the next package. We want to see a sprint, like those kind of things that are just baseline, like, hey, level of competition things. Like, we're gonna keep it up around here, and they're tracking that too. And using the GPS data and the tape to see who's loafing around at practice and who's actually out there efforting it. And something that I was told by a coach that is, I think, eminently true, is that you always hear about guys in any sport. You hear guys like, oh, high motor guy, this guy, like crazy effort, this guy. That's a skill. Like, that's not a thing that you just are or you aren't. That's a thing that can be learned. And that's a thing that is, I mean, frankly, just a matter of effort, right? Like, how bad do you want it? How willing are you to do the thing? And you can become a high motor guy if you just choose to have a high motor. And that's what they're trying to develop in these guys. And so there's a detailed point system for everything. And that, of course, includes the post-practice games and like the fun little campy things that we're seeing on the social media. Those are for points too. Yeah. But the majority of the points are coming from tracking every guy every day, what they do in practice. And there's a lot of ways to lose points. And then there's obviously ways to gain points, like scoring a touchdown or getting an interception or getting a sack. But there are frankly a lot more ways to lose points right now, at least before they play 7s and 11s coming up this week. And then in training camp, when they put pads on, there'll be more of that. But right now, there's way more way to lose points than there is to gain points, which is kind of by design, because it's kind of to get in their bodies this idea that, like, in the NFL, everything is hard and everything is an uphill slog. And it is way, way easier to hurt the team than it is to help the team. Like, that's the real message right there. They're so infinitely much easier to hurt the team than it is to help the team.
What they're trying to do is expose corner cutters.
Yeah.
Like it's exactly that. It's the people that are trying to find the shortcut for anything, not the people that, like, I like to be efficient and I like to create like systems to make me more efficient, to perform higher and be quicker to things, but not like cutting corners, not like being lazy at your job and the small things and the tediousness. And so I did see this. Malachi says, sounds like a plan to not attract free agents. And then Chris nails it. Titans don't want those free agents anymore.
Those free agents.
Those free agents you don't want. Malachi's like, oh, sounds like not going to get those free agents. Like, you don't want those lazy corner cutters, the people that don't want to work, the people that don't want to earn the contract and live up to the contract.
But like, also,
I think that's a weird mindset to have as a fan.
I totally agree. And I think the point that whoever the second person was there nailed it. Chris nailed it. what I will also say to Malachi is that I hear what you're saying. Everything that I have been told on and off the record is that the buy-in to this because again, this is not like they're not sending the players home to like, well, now you have the homework is for you to try. No, the coaching staff, the Titans, the people that aren't players, they're the ones doing the tedious thing. All the players are being asked to do is to go out there and to practice like they play, essentially. Like the age-old adage, practice like you play.
You want to, Malachi? Let's hear from the highest paid offensive player.
We're competing in everything we do at work right now, and I think it's great. I think it's so fun. I'm a captain on my team. I got my boys behind me, and I'm telling them every day. I'll be messing up sometimes, but I tell them every day, man, we're trying to win. You know, we're trying to win, and it's only just making us closer. I swear, it's really working. It is.
And so, why is there that level of buy-in, Austin? Two reasons. One, these guys crave accountability. They crave connection. They crave accountability because we all do in life.
And structure.
We all do. We all crave structure and accountability, even when you like. When there's that childlike caveman urge to be like, oh, I don't want anybody to tell me nothing. Like in reality, the way that we're all wired is we all want to be held accountable because we all want to be our best version of ourselves. And that takes accountability. Unless you are a unique person with self-motivation, I need Austin to get on me about something I'm not doing. And I need to get on Austin about something that he's not doing if we're going to be an effective team. That's how we both rise. That's number one. Number two is the Titans have, I think, really effectively gamified this. The gamification, and in that answer from Calvin Ridley, you hear about how we're competing. It's a game. We want to win. We don't want to lose. That's also very basic human psychology, especially for these guys who are a crop of the most competitive human beings on the face of the planet, as we've talked about. Everything's a game to them. Everything that they want in life is to compete in these games. And so that's where the points and the teams and the games after, like, that's where all of that comes in. And the accountability of not just like this ethereal, like which guy's doing better in practice versus who's not. And this guy's a great practice player. What does that mean? Well, we can all tell on the practice field that no, we can point to, hey, look at this guy's scores. Look at his mental error score. Look at his GPS numbers of how he's hustling out there at practice in May when we're months away from even putting pads on. Like, we can point to that now. Your teammates can point to that now because all of this is available to the team. They see all of it because it's the points on the board, as they talked about on Tuesday, is everything's being tracked. Hey, these guys are killing it. Here are some of the best players in practice.
There's so many good things to this. And Malachi says, I'm going to go sit in timeout and I'll be back. LOL. But yeah, you were wrong on that one because now guess what? Calvin Ridley, who's making $92 million over a 4-year contract, now is being judged with Colton Dowell. And guess what? Calvin Ridley does not want to be outworked by Colton Dowell.
How does that look?
Not good.
When everybody looks up at the screen in the locker room and it's like, oh.
And Jeffrey Simmons doesn't want to be outworked by Isaiah Eaton. I don't know. That's how that works. It's they're competing. He's got his team. Calvin Ridley is now a leader of his group of guys. He's got his platoon that they're going into everyday point battle with, and they can't even miss the trash can or recycling bin with the water bottle they have. I don't know if they're getting points on if that's recyclable or not, but I mean, you go every inch matters, right?
Do you think are they grading their parking job when they get into the facility?
They should, because that's a problem. Right? You talk about a pandemic across this country.
Bad parking jobs.
Man, good freaking Lord. That would be amazing. That would be a great community service.
Big Brother watches all.
Big Brother parking bot.
But Austin, what does this really do? It establishes a way of life, and it sets a standard for the team. And this is where I think this is where it ties back into the leadership. You are establishing a baseline for the new generation of leaders for this team, where you are, again, through the gamification and the accountability, not just ethereally, but on paper. Here's how we are holding you accountable for everything you do. There is a baseline for these guys to be. You're giving the leaders ammo to be able to point to the scoreboard and say, hey, like, this is good enough. This is not good enough. You're doing well enough. You're not doing well enough. Hey, let me praise this guy because he is busting his butt out there and it is showing on the scoreboard. And that's what leaders do, is they lift guys up and when they're doing well and and they pull them up when they're doing poorly. You're also setting a standard for these leaders to be like, hey, here's how we practice. Here's how we meet. here's how we compete, even when it's May and things don't matter. And a lot of people are going to be inclined to just kind of like clock in, clock out, as Calvin Ridley, I think, alluded to in a video that we don't, a bigger version of that press conference that he did at his camp, talking about how last year a lot of guys were kind of clock in, clock out. Like we'd come to the facility, we'd work out together, we'd practice together, we'd do our job together, and then we'd clock out. And the best teams, I think he said, like, I bet you the Eagles were boys last year, I think is what he said in that
100%.
video. Yeah, of course. And he didn't say it explicitly.
Do that when you're good, right?
Totally.
People go happy hour when things are great at the company, right? Like when you're,
but it's chicken or the egg. Like you can't wait to get good to be that. You have to do that to get good, right? And he didn't say it explicitly in that cut, but what he's alluding to is the fact that last year the Titans weren't boys, and that's a big part of what this is doing as well.
All right, so there's a lot to get to. I've favorited a few comments as well that I want to get, but I want to get you guys involved here today and ask you guys this question. Which Titans player do you expect to have their leadership skills step up most from last season? So which Titans player do you expect to have their leadership skills step up the most from last season? So like Cam Ward doesn't count here because he wasn't here last year. Any of these, free agent additions, they don't count because they weren't here last year. I want to know guys that were here last year that have the biggest opportunity to step up. I'm seeing some answers fly in all of a sudden. So we'll get to that here in a second. But first, I want to tell you guys about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you got to make sure you know where to go to, and that is the Bone and Joint Institute, because injuries do happen in life, just like in football and other sports, and they have the experts, the resources, and the physical therapy and the surgery center all under one roof to make sure that that can happen and be simple for you, because injuries as an adult human being are just a massive inconvenience. They disrupt your work. They disrupt your home life, your extracurriculars, your social life. They're just in the way. And then they usually create other problems. So don't let that happen. Don't let one injury compound into more problems. Go to the Bone and Joint Institute if you're in Middle Tennessee and make sure you get it checked out by the best in the business in the area. Book an appointment online, boneandjointtn.org.
There's so much more to say, but first, make sure you've liked the show. Make sure that you have left a 5-star Google review. Those are the two ways that you can help the show this morning. We ask you every show to do this for us because it's extremely, extremely helpful, and it is free for you to do. It just takes one moment of your time. You can even multitask. Do it while you're listening to the show. We really, really appreciate when you guys help us out in that way. Thank you for helping us.
All right, so what Titans player most can have their leadership skills step up from last year? I'll send you to the chat, Easton.
Got it.
To see what you're seeing here. And then I've got some comments I'll get to after we read some of our direct question answers.
I'm seeing Ridley from the video there. Easy pick right there. Yeah. Ridley from Nolan as well. Big Jeff from Eric. Sweat from Duran. JC Latham. Tony Pollard. Couple T Sweats. JC. Tony Pollard. So a lot of this I'm seeing JC. I'm seeing Ridley. I'm seeing Pollard. I'm seeing who else did I see? I'm seeing Big Jeff. Any other answers in there? Amani Hooker from End the Fed. Yeah, I'm Arden Key from Zion. Ridley, coaching staff, T Sweat, JC and Sweat. I think JC and Sweat being the tent poles of last year's draft class make a lot of sense for that, obviously.
Do we all right, so we know a couple things. What do we know, right? How many teams are there? How many squads? Do you know how many squads?
8 teams with a captain and a co-captain each.
What we do know, Tony Pollard's a captain, and his associate captain is T'Vondre Sweat, which is probably the biggest size difference between the two of any team. We know Calvin Ridley is a captain.
Right.
Do we know anything else?
We do not, and I've been asked this a couple of times.
So we know
on Twitter.
3/16 of the leadership here.
Yes, I'd imagine now that we in the media kind of have a grasp of this whole thing. Starting on Wednesday, we will start asking the obvious guys, like, "Are you a captain or a co-captain?" I bet we have more than half of the picture by the end of Wednesday.
Yes. Now we can assume, like, okay, I assume Jeffrey Simmons is a captain.
He's definitely a captain.
Amani Hooker's a captain. I assume.
Definitely a captain.
Who?
I said, who else would that? I mean, JC is JC is definitely a captain or a co-captain. I'm not sure which.
He's definitely one of the 16. I would think he's probably an associate.
We know that Cam is not one of those things, so I don't think they're letting rookies.
Nor should he be.
Nor should they. Right. Yeah. Just to clarify, I don't think rookies at all are captaining or co-captaining.
So do we want to try to guess? Do we try to put together 16?
Yeah. Let me pull up.
Paper.
This is a great exercise actually, and then we can compare it to what the actual thing is.
Oh, dang, my pen's in the other room. So all right,
I've got it. I'm making a chart for us right now on
okay, so you got a chart. Let's go ahead and guess.
So we know 3/16. We'll go ahead and put that in.
Swan says Cam is a captain. I do not know.
We know for a fact he is not one.
Not in this Swan. Like we're not talking. Stop looking at the
He'll
Swan.
He'll be a captain of the team.
Yes,
in the fall.
He'll wear a C patch on his number 1 jersey in the games. But we're talking about this in this summer competition. Cam Ward is not a captain or associate captain. So we know Pollard.
Captain. We know Pollard's a captain. We know Ridley's a captain.
Yes.
Okay.
Who do we? Let's just guess captains.
All right. Jeff is definitely a captain.
Yeah. Hooker's a captain.
Yep. Simmons is a captain. Hooker's a captain.
Um,
I'm looking at the depth chart now. Let's see here.
There's not a lot of options. We're gonna find 8 captains here.
It gets tricky, doesn't it?
Skronsky captain.
I mean, he's either a captain or a co-captain, right?
He's got to be a captain. Year 3, Skronsky.
Captain. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's
I'm gonna say JC's a co-captain. I'm gonna guess they don't let second-year guys be captains.
Yeah, I think JC's a co-captain or an associate captain. What I don't know is Lloyd Cushenberry.
Yeah.
Because of his injury situation.
I'm putting
I don't
him off
know.
to the side because he's got to be one of the two. Chig is Chig one of the two?
Chig is,
I bet he is.
Definitely one.
All right, we're missing some.
Put Chig on the board. We can place Chig. Put him on. Roger McCreary's definitely on the board.
Yeah, I mean Snead is What do you think with Snead?
Another injury thing.
I'm going to put him on the board for now.
Put him on the board
as a maybe.
We're just trying to get Xavier Woods. There was Chris has Sebastian Joseph Day. That's a good one.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
Tyler Lockett.
So, do you think they're letting guys who weren't here last year be captains?
If Tyler Lockett's not a captain or associate captain, that's a missed opportunity. I just think he's too good. He's too natural.
I hear what you're saying. I'm just you're totally right. I'm putting him off to the side. Because see, we have
because you guys talked to Cody Barton after you knew about this, and he did not mention anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, he did not mention being a captain or a co-captain. I'm going to guess he is not one,
right?
Because I think he would have mentioned it. Because that's the thing. I have 6 guys off to the side right here that we don't have placed yet.
How many do we have?
And 9 spots open. No, 8. Excuse me. 9 spots open. We need 3 more captains and 6 more co-captains, which is crazy. Is Arden?
Arden's definitely one of them.
Yep.
Morgan Cox. Thoughts on that?
He totally is one.
Yeah.
He 100%
good pull from the chat. Dalen, we already know Sweat's on there.
So let's start placing these guys. I think Cox is a captain.
I think Cox is a captain.
I mean, he's the longest freaking tenured player on the team, isn't he? Or close to it. He's been around forever.
I don't remember when he came in for Bo Brinkley, but
we know that he has always been a leader of the team.
Okay, so the 2 longest draft picks are Jeff and Hooker. And so we're on there. So,
right, so we need 2 more captains from this group: Cushenberry, Chig, McCreary, Snead, Sebastian Joseph Day, Lockett, Key, and Cox.
Man,
I think it's I don't think Lockett's a captain. I think he's a co-captain. I don't think they're letting new guys be captains.
Fair.
I don't think they have Key as a captain, but maybe they do.
I think Arden Key's a captain.
You think he is? All right. Key's a captain because a level of player is also a part of it. So who's the last captain here?
Who are our options for the last captain?
You've got, of these 6 guys, Cushenberry, Chig, McCreary, Snead, Sebastian Joseph Day, Lockett. I kind of feel like McCreary. Or Cushenberry?
The Cushenberry injury and the Snead injury really throws me here.
No,
I don't know how involved they are.
No, I know.
And you need these guys involved.
and both are rehabbing. Right, exactly. So that's why I think they're not captains.
All right,
I mean,
so
yeah, I think it's McCreary.
yeah,
All right. So we think that we know Pollard and Ridley are captains, and then we
Correct.
think Simmons, Hooker, Skoronski, Cox, Key, and McCreary are the other captains.
that's about right.
So co-captains here. Chig's a co-captain.
Okay, time out. Because
What?
Vanessa's like, how does 16 captains work? Jesus, let's try
Captain
to
coach.
understand what we're getting. All right, so in this off-season program that we've been talking about for 55 minutes now,
Be nice.
they have
be nice.
cut 91 players into 8 teams.
Yes. Each team.
So there are 16 total players of the 91 that are in leadership positions during this offseason game, which everything is worth a point or docks a point.
Mm-hmm.
So we know Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard are captains. We know Tavondre Sweat is an associate captain for Tony Pollard's team. That's the 3 things we know of the 16 pieces. We know rookies are not captains, so Cam Ward is not one of these 16 humans. We're trying to find the other 13. Okay. Now that I reset that properly.
So I plugged everyone in. Our captains are Pollard, Ridley, Simmons, Hooker, Skoronski, Cox, Key, and McCreary. Our co-captains, we know Sweat is one, and then we're guessing Latham, Chig, Cushenberry, Sneed, Sebastian Joseph Day, Lockett. We need one more.
I don't know.
So,
See, because the injuries, I don't know if you can have Cushenberry and Sneed as any of these 16 because they're not.
Who else would it be?
I don't know, but they have to be Tajay Spears.
Well, so here's the thing. Like, I'm looking at the depth chart. Here are starters that aren't new to the team. Ridley, who we have on here. Skoronski's on here. Cushenberry's on here. Latham's on here. Chig is on here. Pollard is on here. Sebastian Joseph Day is on here. Sweat's on here. Simmons is on here. Otis Reese is not on here. He's listed as a starter. There's no way he's a captain. There's no way.
No.
Key is on here. Sneed is kind of on here. Hooker's on here. Brownlee is not on here. He's a starter.
Nah.
Why?
No.
He's a starter.
No, I just don't think he's. I don't know. I'm not there yet. Xavier Woods, new guy.
So that's like Lockett's the only new guy that we have on the list so far. Do we
Dan
think
Moore? I think Dan Moore could be on the list.
We talked to him. I feel like he would have mentioned it. This is just my gut. I don't think they're letting new guys be captains or co-captains.
Not a lot of options then.
No, I know. Like, is Draymond Jones a captain?
No.
I don't know.
No.
Or a co-captain, I mean?
No.
When you say no, he's gonna be your edge one.
No, he's not.
I mean, day one, he's gonna be your best edge rushing talent.
Zeitler?
I mean, Zeitler makes a ton of sense. Like, if I had to pick 2 new guys that I would make co-captains, it's Lockett and Zeitler.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna guess. That's my guess is Zeitler, because they're both. It's not just that they're new, but they both have. They both have 10+ years in the league or close to it.
They're like in their 30s. They're grown pros. Yeah.
So I think that's the list. I think that's our guess. So Pollard, Ridley, Simmons, Hooker, Skoronski, Cox, Key, McCreary are your captains. Sweat, Latham, Chig, Cushenberry, Sneed, Joseph Day, Lockett, and Zeitler are your co-captains. We will get the official list at some point.
We will tweet these out as predictions.
Okay, yeah, we'll tweet it out, and then we will see how accurate this list is.
We'll do our bracketology and figure out. And people are saying in the chat, like, where is Will Levis on this? Do they dare?
On there.
Do they dare have the stones to put Will Levis as 1/16? No way in hell. No way in hell. So, okay. Now that we're off of that distraction, to answer the question, guy from last year with the best opportunity to grow his leadership skills, I think it's Tony Pollard. Did you freeze, Easton? Did I freeze? Easton froze. Easton frozen. He's still frozen. But I think Tony Pollard, as we get Easton back, I will play Tony Pollard from last week talking about the new leadership that he gets to take under his wings.
just kicking it with guys outside of football, outside of X's and O's, just learning about your teammates, learning the backstories, just doing things outside the facility with the guys, so it's a great thing for the team in the long run.
Have you been scoring some points?
What was that?
Have you been scoring some points?
Yeah, we got a good score right now.
Who's on your team?
It's about 10 or 12 guys right now. So, yeah, got about 10 guys on my team.
And associate captain in your team?
Right now, I'm the captain of the team. The associate captain is T. Sweat.
What are you guys playing for?
That's a good question. I'm not sure what the prize is. I just know guys are competing, making it fun, and it's a good thing to have that that fun energy around the building.
Do you punishment?
So it doesn't matter what they're competing for, but my answer was Easton. I think Tony Pollard is the correct answer to this question for me because I think quiet guy naturally, but has a chance to be a vocal guy to really take it up to the next notch.
Yeah, and I will, when we get to shade here in a second, I will talk about my internet.
Ooh.
What was I going to say? Oh, I think that, I don't know what I was going to say. I totally lost it. I got so tilted by my internet thought that, Pollard was also my answer, which stinks. I don't know what have you explained yet why you feel that way?
No, I just, that was all I got because you froze and then I played the video.
So my reason why is just because one, he was when we think back on 2024, he was the only he was the only player, non-skill player, I guess, or specialist who was never a problem ever. I think he was the best player on the team. Like his political approval rating was clearly the highest on the team consistently and never dipped below 50%.
Yeah.
So he's one of, if not the best player on the team. And number two, he is somebody that is a veteran, like he's a veteran of the league. He's older. He is, I think he's a really sharp guy who last year, it's not that he was quiet. It's just, I think that he was maybe the poster child for the idea that there were a lot of new guys that weren't all as comfortable as they should be kind of deal.
Right.
And he's somebody that in that first, Tuesday was the first time we'd spoken to him since the very beginning of January. Yeah. And so it had been a long time, and he has been a couple weeks into this program, and he just felt like a new guy in that. We all, the minute he left the press conference, we in the media corps all turned to each other and say, like, is that the best we've ever gotten from Tony Pollard? Like, that was the most involved, energetic, engaged, wordy he's ever been.
He's been empowered to have a role there, and so
I think that he was the poster child then for being it's uncomfortable. I think that now he's going to be the poster child for guy that comes out of his shell and is a leader in a big way. So I think you're 100% right.
Because I think part of trying to predict these 16 people, the 8 captains and 8 associate captains, are like, who needs to be in that role? Who needs to be empowered that's not going to naturally do it? Because I think some of the new guys might, even Tyler Lockett and Kevin Zeitler, they might naturally already be that. So they don't need to have that role because you want somebody else to take it, And so that's the interesting dynamic of trying to create the 16 co-captains of this offseason program. All right, let's go ahead and get to shade because we're already an hour plus into this thing. I did actually want to get to a couple comments that I liked earlier. Brandon says, today's word, gamification. Yeah. Hey, gamification works.
Is that how you spell that? Is there no E? Is it gamification? I don't know. Is gamification even a word?
Think about gamify.
I'm not even sure it's a real word, to be honest with you, but you're right.
So Todd says, it's creating a winning culture. If you ain't first, you're last. You can, yes, winning culture. We don't have to go full Ricky.
That is how you spell it, and that is a word, by the way. Just for the record. Real word.
Then Luke says, this sounds like a project that takes time to bear fruits. The question remains, does Amy have the attitude and the patience to let this all develop? That is the end all be all. That is the question. How quickly does this bear fruit? Is this, quick? Does it show up? Do they win games in the fall? Do they keep their jobs and have a chance to build on it? Because that is a phenomenal question for all of it. So, all All right, Easton, let's go ahead and get some shade thrown today. If you have shade, throw it in the chat. We will get to it. Time to wrap this thing up on a Tuesday with some shade. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or check them out online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. They'll help you save some money instead of paying those downtown Nashville prices. They've got it covered right there. wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Time to throw some shade. Easton, I know you have a long list of shade. How many shades do you have today?
Like 5. So I'll promise I won't make this 10 minutes.
You have to use them all?
These are all time specific. Yes, these are all relevant to my life today.
Okay, so you can do 2 now.
Okay.
Then we'll go to the chat. Then we'll come back to you. Then I'll go.
All right.
Then we'll go back to you again.
So you watch the chat for now and save some shades in there. But I'll do the first 2 right here.
Be efficient. Let's not cut corners.
No, let's be efficient. That's fine. All right. So the first 2. I'll start with the internet because that's where we most recently were. Yeah. The last 7, first shade is my internet company. The last 7 days, do you ever get like the text notifications where they're like, we know that you're experiencing trouble in your area. We are actively blah, 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 working on the Ethernet. So I've gotten like 9 of those in the last 7 days. There's clearly something that's gone wrong with the Ethernet cable to our neighborhood, I guess, or I don't know how this works, but they keep doing this.
Yeah, there's not an Ethernet cable that comes to the neighborhood.
It's maybe a little bit more high tech than that, but whatever the hard line wiring for our neighborhood is, there's an issue with it because they keep we fixed it. No, we didn't. Tomorrow we have to work on it again. So, and it keeps happening like right when I'm having to do important things like interviews and Zoom calls and a morning show. So that's number 1. And Orlando, just to clarify, he says, I bet Easton's using Wi-Fi instead of Ethernet like a normal person. Not true. I have an Ethernet cable that runs all the way up my stairs to my office because we're in a rental that doesn't have Ethernet in my office, but I got a really long cord for it. So.
I'm on Wi-Fi. I've been on Wi-Fi. I mean, I just roll on Wi-Fi like this.
Well, you should try your Ethernet. It's awesome when it works, and then it's not awesome when it doesn't. What next? So that's number 1. Yeah. Number 2, I'll save the other things for after this. Micro shade. We saved this earlier, and I forgot. Saying that Easton joined Charlie on the list of soft employees. Were you going to bring that up?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hang
on. Hide that. I'll come back.
Pretend I didn't show you that. You can say that later. Jeff did make a good comment earlier, a rare thing for him to do, but he did say for the timing element, are you late? Are you not late for the beginning of the show? Folks, if you just turn on YouTube notifications, you don't have to show up at any time. You just wait for the notification. You click in, you're there immediately. It's like you jump the line and everything. It's great. My second shade is all the freaking people that are in town. This is like, I think, an adult problem that I'm having. Yeah. This is like old man on my lawn kind of deal, but the traffic has been outrageous the past like week and a half, 2 weeks. And it's coincided exactly with when all of the high schoolers and college kids have gotten out, come back to town. And I think you're right that this week is when vacations start. The last 2 weeks, no one was on vacation. Everyone was home. And so it'd be like noon in Cool Springs. I'm just trying to drive like to the gym and it's like rush hour traffic. I can't get anywhere. And it takes me 35 minutes to get to the gym that usually takes me 7 to get to. And I have no idea what's happening, but I'm like, I need to move out to the freaking country and buy a ranch because I hate this. Okay, that's my second shade.
All right. Zachary, throwing shade at busy weeks and make the holidays not even worth it. That's true. Sometimes like having the Monday off just makes the other 4 days miserable.
Oh, because it condenses everything?
Yes,
yeah,
I do buy that. Dre Boy says, Shannon Titans are not being able to be a captain to your 3rd year. That's God, you guys are really misunderstanding the entirety of the conversation that we're trying to have. Like, my goodness. I'm trying to find more shade because I saw some at the top, and now it's all getting buried.
You got to save the shades.
Vanessa says shade on the Indiana weather, 80, 40, 70, 50, allergy, sinus. Fair. Yeah. Chris says shade on all the ads when you try to read an A to Z article. I get paying the bills, but damn. I mean, okay. Let's see. TJ says shade on the dark period of every offseason when you got to wait till September for football to be back. Yep.
Indeed.
It happens at the same time every year. Let's see. Fiber or coax, Easton. That's not Ethernet, but it's fiber or coax.
I'm in a rental, so it's coax.
Yeah, right.
I'm not paying for fiber in this place. Are you kidding?
Tighten Up Ohio shit on Dick's Sporting Goods for sending me the Navy version of my Cam Ward jersey when I definitely ordered the baby blue. And they can claim that they only made his rookie jersey in Navy, which is not the way the Titans are going to do it.
No.
Okay. You get another shade, Easton.
Okay. I have 2 more shades. My next 2 shades are who was it? Was it Vanessa that was bringing up the weather a minute ago?
Someone else brought up Oklahoma weather, same thing. Yep.
Second old man shade for me this morning is the weather. But I feel like this is not an old man thing. For those of you that are in Nashville, back me up on this. May has been a miserable month of weather. It has sucked so hard. It's like we're in South Florida. Like, I don't know what's happening with the storms that roll through every day and ruin things. And for me specifically, it has caused a niche second shade. Not only is the weather ruining things, like I keep wanting to go play golf. I can't go to the range because it's a puddle. We can't go outside with our daughter. We want to go play at the park, but no, it's storming. And it's also the unpredictability, right? It's not like, well, today's going to rain. Is it today going to rain? I don't know, maybe. And so you can't plan anything, and that sucks. Second little shade.
Sometimes it just doesn't rain, but it was supposed to.
Last night it was supposed to rain, and it just didn't rain. I mean, not like early last evening, like cookout times. It was supposed to maybe rain, and it was just cloudy and dry until the sun went down. So that's frustrating. It is also frustrating. I don't know. You don't like go to a traditional gym anymore. You go to your like fancy schmancy electronic whatever.
I haven't been doing much lately in general, but that's
okay. Well, that neither did I when I had a newborn.
Yeah.
When you get back to it, maybe you'll, and I'm sure in your past you recognize. So I go to the Y, like nothing wrong with the Y. Me and Rex Ryan frequent the Y every day. I see Rex there every single day.
Don't dox the guy. Come on.
Everyone that goes to the Brentwood Y knows he's there. It's the beauty of Nashville. No one's going to get bothered. You can be a star in Nashville and just live your life. And Rex, baby, he's a star. It is frustrating to me how these rules at the Y work with the pool. So the like, again, old man, like I love to go to the sauna. I love to get in the whirlpool afterwards. Like if I go on a long run, to like get the leg muscles warm, like relaxed, whatever, like let's not pull anything tomorrow. That's all off the indoor pool deck. And if there's lightning within a freaking 150-mile radius, then we shut the pool deck down for the next hour and a half and just your day is scuttled. So the number of times this month that I have gone to try to just like sit in the sauna for 10 minutes, but the pool deck's closed because we had one strike of lightning in Hendersonville an hour and a half ago, and I just pull my hair out is infuriating. So that's my second shade. My final shade, and I'll make this great one to end on. No, I've been angry this week. I've been very angry this week. Last shade. Over the weekend, I identified 3 guys that I think are hilarious, that I think we should all laugh at. 3 types of people in sports. Number 1 is not Super Titans related. Number 2 and number 3 are. Number 1 is guy who lets Aaron Rodgers like deeply bother them. Every single time on Twitter, I see some bit of like Aaron Rodgers announcement expected to come this week or Aaron Rodgers appearing on Pat McAfee. There's always a handful of people, and it's big people in media too that do this, that are just clearly so deeply, viscerally upset that Aaron Rodgers is the way that he is. Grow up, people. Don't let this man bother you. Like you're what's more embarrassing than the way that he behaves sometimes is the way that you other adults let it impact your life and really preoccupy you. That's number 1 guy that's funny. Number 2 guy that's funny is the stop talking about Vrabel guy. And I talked to you about this over the weekend. Those of you, like I wrote this article over the weekend that I referenced in today's episode about how Vrabel was the leadership before he left. And it was an article about how they're trying to rebuild from Vrabel's leadership. And I got a number of comments and DMs and things where it's like, would you guys please, like, I'm going to mute the word Vrabel. When is Nashville media going to move on from Vrabel? Guys, he was the coach of this team. He was the face of the team in the era from which they are still actively trying to rebuild from. And he's already a head coach again in the conference. Like whether you like it or not.
On the schedule. The
schedule, right. Whether you like it or not, he is objectively a big part of the narrative of this team and of this season. Get over it. Like you sound like an angry little child. You're like, I don't want to talk about Vrabel anymore.
My anecdote.
Please.
Butch Jones headlines still slap.
How long has that been?
2017.
I was about to say 8 years.
Almost a decade. Still works.
Yeah. as you pointed out over the weekend, nothing hits like talking about the X. And with Vrabel in particular, I think for a lot of fans, for some reason, it strikes a nerve. Maybe because in your heart, you feel like you should have been left go. Maybe because in your heart, you're afraid that he's a good coach and he's going to whip you in week 7. Whatever it is, grow up. Third guy that's funny, and we'll end on this one. None of this matters offseason guy. The guy that comes in, and anytime you point out anything cool or like, hey, that's neat, and oh, look at the special drill dummy that they've got. That's cool, and oh, look at this cool offseason program. As I'm writing about these things, without fail, every time there's somebody in the comments that's like, none of this matters. Wake me in week 7 when if the Titans are blah 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 blah. To that guy, I say, do us all a favor, practice what you preach, and log off until October because we don't want to hear from you.
Yeah, you're just annoying and bothering all of us. So all 3 of those guys are worthy shades.
Funny guys. Don't be that guy. Don't be those guys.
I was going to bring up the Jeff shade. He says Easton's joining Charlie Burris on the list of soft employees. Jeff, when you're constantly trolling people every time they show up to do their job and you are sitting there poking them, it gets really annoying. So,
hey, guy you shouldn't be. The guy that Jeff is on the morning show.
Yeah,
don't be a Jeff.
Like you're trolling to be a troll. Like I know you like it, and I do like Jeff like at its core. But dude, self-awareness, man.
The idea
you're
of Jeff.
like you live here to be annoying on purpose, and then you call people soft when they are annoyed by you for you poking them every week. Like we would all be annoyed by that. So anyway, that's not my shade. My shade is, man, I hate when the electricity goes out for the sole reason of having to time up the clocks on my microwave and my oven.
Just having to redo it.
Yes. Yes.
Those get old. Yeah.
Because you know what happened to me on Friday? I think it was Friday. Maybe it was Thursday. My electricity blipped 4 times in like a 4-hour period. And so after the second time, I was like, I am not resetting this clock. I'm giving it the whole day. It's going to be blinking.
Until we go 24 hours with things.
And I'm going to know exactly how many hours it's been since the last time because it resets to 12 every time. Because I cannot stand when the microwave and the oven clocks are not aligned.
What's particularly frustrating about that is that like you can go to Walmart and buy a $199 clock, the cheapest clock in the world. And it's crazy the technological advances we have today, Austin. These clocks have battery backups where if they lose power, they, for a period of time, just retain the time that they're set to. You would think in your $1,200 appliances in your kitchen, they may also put a battery backup on the clock. But no, we can't possibly do that.
Like they don't. You know what? They just need to stop having clocks on ovens and microwaves.
There's the take. Great take. We don't need them anymore.
No,
we've got these. Got these.
Now, I do love them. Like you can have the timers, right? Because you need for the timer, for the microwave, for the oven temperature, all that kind of stuff.
Well, you need a timer, but do you need a clock?
No,
because the timer wouldn't need to be reset, right? You just every time you use the timer, you set it.
Because they're stacked. Microwave is above the oven, so when the clocks are off, it drives me up the wall.
If you took away the clocks on the microwave and the oven, it would take me no more than 1 week to get used to not having them.
Well, I would have to go get another clock because I use it nonstop. But that's because it's there and I don't have another clock to not have to use it.
But you can't just like look at your watch or your phone or ask
Sometimes I'm doing stuff and sometimes I'm cooking, man, and things are flying and I've got eyes and ovens on and things going.
So get a wall clock that runs on a battery, right?
Yeah, like if they no longer had clocks, then I would just go get a different clock, put it in the kitchen on the wall. Now,
I think as a society, we've moved past the need for clocks on.
So you talk about other people, like people that are annoying. There are 2 types of people in the world. There are me that cannot stand when my oven and microwave clock are not aligned. Then there's the people like Ashley who have never set their clock on their microwave.
How do you do that? So it's just a random time on there that you ignore?
That's hell. That's hell.
Oh, so it's just a random assortment of numbers that mean nothing to you?
Yes, that's just absolute hell.
Come on, Ashley. That's wild. Yeah, couldn't do it. Okay. I tend to try to leave my microwave and oven clock set a little bit ahead of time because for the most part, I'll be like in the kitchen, like making a water or a drink or a snack to get out the door. And I'm somebody that I'm somebody that people will tell in earlier times that I'm there on time. Like that's easily the number one flaw with me as a human being is being on time for things. And so I try to like lie to myself with my also my car clock. I like to leave that one a little bit early too, to induce a little bit of panic early to get myself to get to places. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't.
Okay, that's it. We got to go because we've been on long enough. All right, guys, that's it for us on this Tuesday. More show tonight or tomorrow on Wednesday morning. Make sure you hit that like button, like the show, 5-star Google review, all those great things. And we'll see you guys later on in the week. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Appreciate it as always.